Welcome to Central News. I'm Hilary Entwistle. In today's news, draft boating rules including a proposal for the compulsory wearing of life jackets have been released by the Waikato Regional Council for public comment. Members of the public have until 5 p.m. on Friday the 22nd of February to make submissions on the proposed Navigation Safety Bylaw 2013. The bylaw impacts recreational activities including power boating, kayaking, yachting, jet skiing and swimming. Navigation Safety Program Manager Nicole Botherway says the council are particularly keen to get feedback on a proposed rule change which will make it compulsory for life jackets to be worn on vessels of 6 metres or less in length while the vessel is going. Tsunamis dominated discussion at the Tauranga City Council's last scheduled meeting for 2012 with a presentation of the Tsunami Survive Papamoa evacuation plan and renewed discussion on tsunami warning sirens. The Tsunami Survive plan focuses on self-reliance, with a core premise being that residents are going to have to help themselves in the case of a tsunami warning. In a presentation on the Tsunami Survive plan, the core advice was that residents in Papamoa will have to get inland or get high and to think feet and be prepared. Residents in coastal areas are advised to plan their exit route based on the fact that roads will be closed and people will need to walk or cycle out. Safety messages aimed at reducing the crash numbers in the Western Bay of Plenty will soon be on State Highway 29. The new Just the Facts road safety campaign signs from the New Zealand Transport Agency are being put up this week and will replace the former Lifesaver campaign signs. The signs messages have come as a result of research into the crash statistics of State Highway 29 between Tauriko and the base of the Kaimai Ranges and forms part of the New Zealand Transport Agency's Safer Journey strategy. The strategy focuses on the 4 key areas of road safety: implementing safe speeds, purchasing safer cars, and safe road user behaviour. Now for our region's weather, Hamilton, your Friday will have cloudy spells and the chance of an odd shower and light winds. Your expected high is 25 and an overnight low of 15. Tauranga, your Friday will have cloudy spells that bring a chance of the odd shower. Your expected high is 24 and an overnight low of 18. Coming up next, we look at the research into synthetic cannabis. Welcome to Central News on TV Central. Illegal cannabis highs are currently being sold in dairies nationwide until new regulations come into place in August next year. In part 2 of our interview with David Gilmore, we discuss what the signs are to look out for if you are a concerned parent and what some of the research has found. So what is happening chemically in the brain when one has smoked, Kato?
That's a good question. I'm not a chemist, but I mean basically it's the same thing that happens when you drink coffee. You know, the substance goes to your brain and hits certain receptors which go, ooh, you know, and it has an effect. But we know what we're going to get with coffee. We don't know what we're going to get with herbal highs.
Is it reducing our serotonin?
I think in some cases it is, and there's a sort of serotonin dopamine dance that goes on, and yeah, I mean it certainly affects that. I mean those are the 2 main mood chemicals, if you like, in the brain.
So it is kind of having a come down effect as well?
The psychoses appear to be occurring when people are coming down from the high as opposed to when they're going up or plateauing, as far as we understand. I don't know, you know. The same sort of thing happens with methamphetamine. It's like the destabilisation tends to come when it's wearing off and it's dropping out of the system.
Well, that's the scary thing, is that methamphetamine, you know, it's been proven causes psychosis episodes, and this is causing...
There's a lot of similarities in that sense too, and certainly some of the effects that people are having with some of these substances as well are not dissimilar to the methamphetamine effect. Some of them are designed to be stimulants and to speed you up and all the rest of it, just in the same way that methamphetamine does too.
So what have some of the studies that have been done into the drug so far found?
Basically that you don't know what you're getting when you're smoking, especially with the new substances. The manufacturers don't know what you're getting when you're smoking. So you're always taking a risk with that. Yeah, I mean, basically you don't know what you're getting.
If parents are worried that their children may be smoking K2 or other synthetic cannabises, what should they be looking for?
Oh, what people should be looking for, basically, I mean, rather than looking for specific, so looking for difference. Is your child different to the way they normally behave? Are they becoming secretive? Are they, not telling you where they're going? Are they appearing intoxicated? Are their moods different to the way they used to be? What's different to what's normal? Sometimes it's difficult to tell sort of psychosis from ordinary teenage behaviour, if you want to put it that way. But it's that thing about what's different, and is it consistently so? And in the same way you would do exactly the same thing around alcohol or cannabis. It's just like, what's different? Sometimes you can smell it. You can smell cannabis on kids, you can smell alcohol on kids. Not necessarily going to be able to smell herbal highs on kids, but you might do. Sometimes it's just like eyes are pinned, or you've got slurring or whatever. But often it's just mood. So it does have a similar smell to cannabis? I actually honestly don't know. I think that some of them are tainted, as it were, to smell in a certain way, and others I think it's bland. Anything you burn is going to smell something or other. And what is the government currently doing towards the situation? The government have been very active, very proactive in fact. Some time ago they were obviously getting reports of concern about herbal highs, and so they sent a lot of them for analysis over to the scientists, basically, and they took 50 products, I think it was, off the market because of the chemical content of those products. And those are off the market. What happens, of course, is that they're tweaked and then they're brought back in a slightly different form onto the market. But from this time, from the middle of next year, all herbal high products are going to be taken off the market and they're going to be banned. Any herbal high products that come on the market after that time, the onus has shifted from proving they're unsafe to the manufacturers proving they're safe. So the manufacturers of any products are going to have to test them for safety, which they're not doing at the moment, and they've never done and would never voluntarily do. But no product can come onto the market until it's been tested for safety. Now that's going to take 2 or 3 years and probably several $1 million to be able to do that. And they're not going to do that. These are fly-by-night people who are making a quick buck, and they're going to be gone. And the government have done this. They're the first government in the world who have changed the onus from proving they're unsafe to making the manufacturers prove they're safe. So we're a world leader in that, which is great. So potentially there is 6 more months that this product can be on sale. In the meantime, what is the main message that you want to be getting across to people? I think it's just beware of herbal highs. You don't know what you're getting. Nobody does. And, frankly, I'm thinking of, these are sold in dairies to kids. If you know that your local dairy is selling those products, you can always tell your local dairy you'll shop elsewhere until they stop selling them. And that's worked in Auckland quite well. There was one particular dairy that was targeted, and local people boycotted it, and they stopped selling the stuff. I think there's only one dairy, for example, in Te Puke that sells the stuff, and people in Te Puke will know which that dairy is. I'm not going to name it, but they may wish to walk into there and say, we're not shopping here until you stop selling that stuff. That stuff has an effect. Just ahead, the Alcohol Reform Bill. Welcome back. Parliament recently passed the Alcohol Reform Bill. I spoke with MP Lindsay Tish to find out the key factors.
Out of the 150, there's about over 130 of them have been implemented, and the key about this is allowing parents and guardians to actually decide whether their children should be drinking and purchasing alcohol. Because at the moment is that a young person will go somewhere, they will drink, drinks being provided, and there's actually been no accountability. So part of this process, and the law changes here, is that a child who's under 18 years of age has to have parental consent to be able to drink. Now, that means that whoever's hosting a function, a party or whatever it is, that's the responsibility that falls back on them. And if they don't get that consent, they can't give it. If they do, then they're liable for court action. So that's part of it. The other part is allowing communities a greater say in where there's going to be liquor outlets, the hours in which liquor outlets will be able to function, and so there's a much greater involvement now of the community. Communities will have a say what they want, and it's up to the local authorities how they're going to implement that. So I guess it's about parents having a greater say, communities having a greater say, and community involvement, which I think is, well, certainly that's what the submissions wanted, and that's what the Law Commission recommended, and that's what's going to happen.
Is there a direct correlation between too many, lots of off-site licensees and crime in an area?
Well, in some areas you could say that, and this is where the local, see, if you want a liquor licence, it's the local authority that grants it, and so the pressure is coming on the TLAs, that's the local territorial authorities, to actually be far more responsible in terms of where these liquor outlets are going to be. For example, how close should these be to schools? And there's a push to make sure that they're not within sight of a school. And that's really where the community has a say. And the local authorities, it's the local authority elections next year, this could well be a question about what is going to be the policy of this district council or city council in terms of liquor outlets, because there's an onus coming back on communities and local authorities to be far more proactive than they've been in the past. There has been a correlation between alcohol and crime, but that's in more selective areas, and we can't sort of generalise, but there are some figures about that, yes.
And will they be able to implement the opening hours of those liquor?
Yes, there's going to be different opening hours, depending whether you're in a tourist area or whether you're in an area where there are factories or commercial areas. So the hours of operation, how you're going to operate, there's far more accountability that's going to be required in that. And that's, once again, this is what communities have been asking for, and this is what's going to happen.
Now, Parliament did vote to keep the age at 18.
Yes.
Why did you keep it? What's behind that?
Yep. Well, New Zealand doesn't have a drinking age. All right, we only have a purchase age. So if you look at other jurisdictions around the world, everyone sort of says, oh, we shouldn't reduce the drinking age from 20 down to 18. But back in 1997, when the drinking age, or the purchase age, was 20 at that stage, about 80% of 14 to 18-year-olds were actually drinking, even though the age was 20 for purchase. And so when the purchase age dropped in 1999 from 20 down to 18, we've actually seen a reduction over time. It's still a problem, there's still a challenge out there, we're not putting that to one side. But what is now in place and what can be done is to make sure that there's far more accountability in the purchase of alcohol. And that's why the people who have got into trouble have been that they've purchased at off-licence, supermarkets, the corner, dairy, or they may have been able to have liquor outlets, and those are the ones that have caused problems. But if we look at the statistics, 700,000 people are regarded as heavy drinkers, and this comes from the Alcohol Liquor Advisory Committee in Auckland University, who do studies in these matters. Less than 10% of those 700,000 are under 20 years of age. So the issue is not so much with young people, although we identify more with younger folk than we do with older folk, and they're the ones that are causing problems in Queen Street in Auckland and other places. So the age has been retained for purchase at 18, and there's plenty of data to actually support that. But the measures that we're putting in place, I think are far more proactive to counter this issue we have.
Do you think that this alcohol reform bill will actually tackle that binge drinking culture?
Well, it puts far more responsibility back on those who are serving alcohol, the purchase of alcohol, the suppliers, the communities. And if they don't actually, if they're not proactive in this area, then Parliament has the power to be, you know, to legislate or by way of regulation to be able to put other measures in place. So let's see what happens. It was passed through Parliament last week, or the last week of Parliament sitting, and so we just have to, you know, time will tell as it progresses forward. But once again, society is sick and tired of abuse of alcohol because it leads to issues with children, you name it, in the homes. That sort of violence, a lot of it's to do with alcohol, and we need to be proactive, and this bill, the Alcohol Reform Bill, does that.
Yes, well, thank you very much, Lindsay. It'll be interesting to see if that is an issue in the local elections. Thank you very much.
Good, thank you.
Just ahead, rodeo. If you have just joined us, welcome to Central News. Last month, the International Rodeo came to town and we were lucky enough to chat with some of the big names there. So tell us about the International Rodeo that's come here to Claudelands.
It's a very interesting, very unique, and very historic venue to take some talent from the 4 dominant rodeo countries in the world, Canada, America, of course Australia, New Zealand, and be able to bring them here and give the fans here in Hamilton a chance to see some of the best talent of the 4 different countries. So it's really a unique venue, and I'm just very proud to be a part of it and glad to see this starting to take off more on an international basis. It is somewhat in the States. Matter of fact, it's brand new in the States, where we have the bull riding, the saddle bronc riding, and the bareback riding. You know, as you might be familiar, a lot of bull riding goes on where that's all it is, but it's always beautiful to see the mix up of the way the different horses buck in the bareback and saddle bronc events. So, no, this is cutting edge stuff, and this is what's going to really, I think, intrigue the fans and give them a little bit of the history of our rural life. The way I grew up on a ranch, doing the things that I've done, and part of my country's history, and so it's going to be just really exciting. I'm really tickled to be here.
So last week you were in Dunedin. How did that show go?
It went well. Yeah, it was a different venue because of the stadium and the roof and the acoustics and so forth, and it was huge. But a lot of people showed up, and what we did to kind of give the people a little more intimacy is right after the rodeo, right behind the buck and shoots, right there in the rugby field, we had what they called the Cowboy Bar with a dance band, and people could all meet and visit and have a drink right there and some beer right there. So they got to come down and be a part of the venue with us, and that was really neat. That was a lot of fun.
So what is the difference? So there's a bull riding. Can you explain bull riding to us?
Well, bull riding is very unique in the regard that, of course, obviously they're on bulls, number one. Number two, they basically tie themselves on the back of the bulls with a bull rope. It's a flat braided rope. Then they use what we call rosin, which is nothing more than like a pine pitch, to really make the rope sticky and their gloves sticky. So they tie themselves on the back of the bulls. Now the bulls are different than horses in the regards that their skin moves a lot. It rolls a lot. Where a horse, it's more tight, like our skin. So they've got to deal with that. So they tie themselves on the back of the bulls and they move a lot of that skin ahead of their bull rope. And then the way the bulls buck, because they want to change directions and make it as difficult as possible. So these bull riders are more like gymnasts. They have to have that balance and act and react. They keep their free arm up for balance, try to keep their chin tucked, chest out, and react to the bull, because if they get too straight back and move too far back on the bull's rump, that's where he's got the power, and all of a sudden you're going to have a cowboy astronaut. If they get too far over and that bull's moving his head, they can also make him a cowboy lawn dart, just drive his head. So they want to kind of like on a teeter-totter, be in that center fulcrum there to take as much power away from the bull as possible and keep control of the bull. So it's very different than the other two riding events.
Al, how excited are you about Saturday night?
Oh yes, I'm very excited about the rodeo on Saturday night.
Do you think it will be better than last year?
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah. The rodeos only get better every time.
So you were originally a city boy. How on earth did you get into rodeo?
Yeah, long story. I went on a holiday when I was 18. And I was, I used to be a boxer and a footballer and a wild sort of a guy. And the guys I was on the holiday with, there was a rodeo on in this town we went on a holiday in, and so they go, come on Al, get on a bull, go have a ride. No, yeah, righto. So I just went and got on a bull, and yeah, I just fell in love with the sport, and actually made friends who were cowboys that day, and they lived a couple of hours drive out of Sydney, and they offered me opportunity to go out and learn to be a bull rider, and one thing led to another. Then 12 months later, I was one of the best bull riders in the country. And I don't know, just met my wife in 1986. She was a professional rodeo cowgirl, and went on, did 7 national finals. Just my whole life became rodeo, and I'm still doing the rodeo thing.
Now, you had a massive injury. What inspired you to get back into the industry?
What inspired me? Oh, just the love of my family and everybody's encouragement, I think it's just my life, and it always has been, always will be, so just had to overcome hurdles and move forward, as they say.
Was that a hard decision to make though, as it is such a dangerous industry?
Is it a dangerous industry? Oh, it definitely is, and in a lot of different aspects. It's not just dangerous in the sense that, one's a bull rider, this one's a bronc rider, and the other one, well, it's mine. Everyone arguing about it. Every aspect of the event, everybody has to know what they're doing. So there's a whole operation that's happening out there, both inside the arena and out on the outsides of the arena. And it's like work, if you walk onto a work site and you don't know anything about the management or what goes on, it's very dangerous. You can get killed, and the same goes on in our industry. You go walking out there and in the wrong place, you can be seriously injured or killed. And very dangerous sport, but everything's mitigated. We keep it safe as we can.
So what do you do as a professional comedy clown in the
Professional comedy clown for rodeo? There's a lot of different duties and roles and things that you play. It's not so much as just go out there and be as funny as you can. Sure, you have to add your comedy and work with your crowd and know your crowd and make them feel part of the event. So you've got to be able to, put your energy out there, and everyone loosens up, has fun. There's that. And being able to do it in a timing with your announcer, your rodeo announcer, it's sort of like, it's a sporting arena, but for a comedy clown, he fits into it. He looks at it's not only a sporting arena, it becomes a theatre for him. So he knows how the whole thing works and how to fit in with it and make it a show type.
That is the news for today. We really want you to be involved, so like us on Facebook and let us know your views. If you have news including your own video and photos, go to our website and hit upload. Thanks for joining us. I will be back tomorrow night with more guests from in and around the regions. I'm Hilary Entwistle. Have a lovely evening.
This has been an Alpha Media production, a division of Television Media Group.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.